Hello and welcome to Episode 1, How Lobbyists Quietly Hijack Western Democracies. In this discussion, we are going to explore the unseen influence of corporate lobbying on democratic institutions in the US, UK, EU, Australia and Canada. From campaign financing loopholes to behind closed doors policymaking, we uncover how your vote might matter less than you think. These are the key sections we discuss in this analysis. An executive summary and quick introduction to the channel. A disproportionate influence of wealthy interests. A lack of transparency and accountability. A policy capture and regulatory distortion. Impact on policy versus public interest. Erosion of public trust. Real case studies, such as big consulting firms, big pharma, fossil fuel lobby. Potential reforms. Lobbying that distorts democratic accountability in the West refers to practices by interest groups, corporations, or individuals that undermine the public's ability to hold elected officials accountable for their decisions. While lobbying itself is a legal and often essential part of democratic systems, providing information, expertise, and representing diverse interests, it can become problematic when it leads to disproportionate influence, opacity, or policy outcomes that diverge from the public interest. Here's a breakdown of how this distortion occurs. Welcome, that was introduction to our long-awaited debate channel where we connect the dots. As we embark on this journey, we understand and encourage different point of views because we are not dictators. We need to correct the systems that have turned into assets for the elite circle only. But we, the people of this shared planet who are the first shareholders, have been ignored for so long and been reduced to, let's say, people when only someone needs us to take for a ride. Here at the Frontline Macroanalysis TV, we debate on everyday life in society, tear down brick by brick the political systems, regal, including regulatory systems and military complexes, to show exactly what they are, what they do, and who they are working for. I hope you are ready. It won't be easy, and that's good. Few rules. 1. Participate respectfully, meaning answers based on argument against argument, strictly no personal attacks. 2. Your opinion matters, but so does someone else too. 3. Like, subscribe and share to others. We either grow together, or we fall together, and the world is in desperate need of your input now more than ever, as have been witnessing collapsing institutions to the cabals while we the people left as well. We the people, how sad. Today we are at Episode 1, but it's getting hotter and hotter in here, so let's get into it. 1. Disproportionate influence of wealthy interests. Corporate dominance. Large corporations and industry groups often have far more resources to devote to lobbying than civil society organizations or average citizens. Example: in Australia alone in the past 10 years, 4 large consulting firms such as KPMG, Ernst Young, Deloitte, and PwC have accumulated $23 billion in revenue from Australian government as consulting fees. In my opinion, Australian taxpayers have been scammed, because what is the purpose then of funding millions of dollars into each ministerial department that is packed with all resources necessary to do its job? Campaign financing. In countries like the US, Australia, Canada, UK, the close relationship between money and politics, such as through political action committees or super PACs, enables wealthy donors to shape political agendas and priorities. It goes without saying, but have you ever heard a say that goes like, there is no such thing as a free lunch? This is the case here. In political corrected language, these funds are called donations, but in reality, in the mind of donors, these are called investments. On side of the people, remember, we the people been sold to the highest bidder. At this point, if you still haven't catch up with what is happening around you, we are going to need extra episodes to awake you, henceforth subscribe to get more. Until then, understand in the West, it is called financing campaigns. However, in other controlled, less independent countries, it is called corruption. Have you spotted the difference? Just keeping your mind sharp. I was kidding. You got it right there. Is no difference, just different terminologies used to trick you. Simply, campaign financier is a buyer of your vote. The politician is the agent taking your vote and hand it over the buyer. Now you are asking yourself, then in this, who is the seller, since you did not sell your vote? Sorry to disappoint you, but your blind trust or ignorance to your surroundings just made you a victim. Your vote was auctioned without your knowledge and nor consent. In later episodes, you will understand clearly that democracy is not what it seems to be, and that we the people always are the victims in any political outcome. A revolving door, movement of personnel between roles as legislators and lobbyists, or vice versa, creates networks of influence that can blur lines between public service and private gain. I must tell you, we have a lot of these types of politicians in the West. Correct me if I am wrong, but I suspect the right term to call them is opportunists. 2. Lack of transparency and accountability. Are opaque lobbying practices. Not all lobbying activities are publicly disclosed. In the EU, many US states, Australia, and Canada, lobbying registries may be voluntary, incomplete, or poorly enforced. Done deliberately, and I assure you not by accident. While we the people only have a front door, the others, which you can guess, have a back door that is always open for themselves out of any legal or political entanglement they might encounter. A shadow lobbying. Lobbyists may operate under the radar by advising from behind the scenes, avoiding legal requirements to register or disclose activities. Remember the Big Four in Australia from the beginning I mentioned, military industries in the US, or APAC. A complex influence networks, think tanks, PR firms, and front groups can be used to hide the true source of influence, creating an illusion of grassroots support, astroturfing. Would I be wrong to argue that we the people at this point have already been kicked out of room? Comment below and get discussion going. 3. Policy capture and regulatory distortion. A regulatory capture. Agencies tasked with regulating industries may be influenced or dominated by the industries they regulate, leading to weak enforcement or favorable policies. Is anybody thinking of pharmaceuticals working hand in hand with drug and food regulatory as I am at this point? A distortion of priorities. Lobbying can lead to public policy that serves narrow interests, example, fossil fuel subsidies, pharmaceutical pricing, rather than the common good, example, climate action, public health. Undermining reform. Strong lobbying efforts often stall or weaken reforms aimed at increasing transparency, reducing inequality, or enhancing democratic participation. I know the C-19 era and climate change campaigns have seen a fair share of dismissing critics and journalists who went above and beyond in unrevealing truths. You know, I have been wondering something called silencing voices. What do you think? 4. Erosion of public trust. Cynicism and disengagement. When citizens perceive that politicians are more responsive to lobbyists than to voters, trust in democratic institutions erodes. Polarization. Lobbying by ideological or identity-based interest groups can contribute to political polarization, especially when amplified by media and digital platforms. Inequality in voice. Marginalized groups may struggle to gain a foothold in policymaking, reinforcing systemic injustices. I don't know about you, but I am certainly all the above are evident in the world right now. We cannot trust scientific research because the outcome is usually based on the desired interests of the corporation that paid for the research. Groups that I don't need to mention have been given first seat in every industry, and skills and experience don't matter anymore. Examples. United States. The pharmaceutical industry's lobbying has been criticized for contributing to high drug prices and blocking reforms like Medicare negotiating prices. The European Union. Financial lobbying in Brussels is seen as having watered down post-2008 financial regulations. United Kingdom. The Greensill scandal highlighted how informal lobbying through personal connections can evade scrutiny. Australia. tax and GST reforms that favor the rich and suppress the working class. But now let's look some reform proposals. Strengthen lobbying transparency laws, mandatory registries, meeting disclosures. Campaign finance reform, limits on donations, public funding. We should be clear, democracy is not for sale, so all the money pumped into the system from lobbyists have no basis. Ban or regulate revolving doors, cooling off periods, disclosure of conflicts. Empower civil society and underrepresented voices in the policymaking process. It should not be an arena where only the favored ones get to be heard and everyone's else voice ignored. It is a shared society and not only for the few. Digital lobbying oversight, tracking online influence, especially via social media, but also big media houses should be held accountable to producing the reference and not to produce propaganda to brainwash societies. This was episode 1. I hope that I have exhibited to you from this introductory episode why you should be a regular here. I promise that every opinion matter and arguments in comment are welcome. I have no legal right to claim that only my argument is acceptable. But it is my opinion and pretty much the same as you also have yours. Welcome to Frontline Macroanalysis TV, and the debate has begun. Until then, see you in the next episode.